Dr. Andy Roark is a veterinarian, public speaker, author, media personality, and the founder of Uncharted Veterinary Conference. He runs his own podcast called Cone of Shame with Dr. Andy Roark. And believe it or not, he found me on YouTube, and with us both being from the Greenville area, he invited me on his podcast. His fans submitted their true paranormal stories, and then we talk about them. It's always good to get the perspective from a medical professional, especially one who is open-minded to the field of paranormal. What will the truth searchers find this time?
Welcome to the podcast, Gabe Mathews. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. I am a big fan of your work. And for those who don't know you, let me just start there. For those who don't know you, you are lead investigator at the Truth Searchers Paranormal Investigators. You are a certified paranormal investigator. You are also the founder of the Greenville Ghost Tours in Greenville, South Carolina.
Correct, yeah.
Anything?
I'm a, paranormal enthusiast, a paranormal educator, just all around researcher, paranormal researcher.
Perfect. I found you deep in a YouTube viewing hole, a rabbit hole, as we call them, and I have been a big fan of your work ever since. So I really appreciate you taking time, Gabe. So I've been thinking a lot about this recently. So I always want to try to be a resource for veterinarians and veterinary professionals, and I think we do a lot of good here. It came to my attention recently that we really, in our profession, do not have resources. We really do not have support for people who are having things like hauntings or like possession or a clown in the sewer is, doing things or, being dragged to hell. None of those things are really supported by the infrastructure that we have in our profession.
No doubt. And, the veterinarian, community seems to not support these things. Also, believe it or not, the paranormal community does not do enough with animals either. And, I do a lot of paranormal research on animals as well as humans, because it only makes sense that a ghost could be a cat or a dog or a bird or an animal, a fish even. It doesn't always have to be a human, and I don't know why all these paranormal teams and shows always jump to a human ghost.
Yeah, that never really occurred to me, and it was when I had that realization that it's like, hey, animals can be possessed, they can have spirits, things like that as well. I'm like, why don't we hear more about hauntings in vet clinics, things like that? And so you and I are exactly in alignment here. What I want to do, I actually put a call to...
If you don't mind, before we get started, do you mind just smudging her a little bit?
What is it? So what is...
So smudging is the act of burning sacred herbs for spiritual cleansing in order to cleanse the air of negative spirits. Because we're indoors, I can't do smoke, so I do have a smudging alternative. And this is some Palo Santo smudge spray. And I smudge regularly, so I just kind of spray if you don't mind.
On your clothing?
Wherever you might have any dark energy or a dark passenger or...
Okay. Is there a dose that you recommend for your smudging? Is it like a...
I actually believe that the smudging is rare to have it as sprays.
Okay.
I'd prefer to do a smoke ritual.
Okay.
Get some white sage or Palo Santo and kind of burn it and have it the smoke kind of fill your home. And do it regularly.
Like a feel-away diffuser, but for spirits.
And I'm sure you could have a smudging diffuser in your home as well. It would make a lot of sense.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm here for that. So I reached out to the audience and I asked people, have you had paranormal experiences in the vet clinic or veterinary related? And I got a couple of responses. And so I got my team to go ahead and turn those into audio for us. And so I've got a couple of things. What I want to do is I've probably got 4 or 5 of them. I have not listened to them, just so you know. So this will be the first time I'm hearing them as well. Let's you and I'd like to listen to these stories, authentic paranormal stories from veterinary medicine, and then we can kind of break that down. See if there's things that you would recommend, things that we could do differently. You know, how do we best practices? I'm really sort of looking for those things. It's always trying to support, always trying to help, always trying to make better. You know.
I also want to state for the record that I don't have any psychic ability, or I have very low ESP. Okay. So I have not heard these, nor have I used any psychic ability to premeditatively know them before going into this.
All right, great. We're on equal footing then. That's good. All right, let's go ahead. Let's listen to the first one.
This is Late Night Food Order, submitted by Kim Moran. Narrated by Tyler Grogan. One morning, we walked into the clinic, and there were 2 small dog food bags on the floor in our reception hall, the one that connects pharmacy to the lobby. We decided to check out the security footage, and it looks like those bags had a mind of their own. Instead of gracefully falling off the shelf, they decided to take flight. We even tried to recreate it, but they always hit the counter and bounced down. It's like they had some supernatural assistance. Now here's the real spine-tingling part. That hallway has motion sensors for the lights, and they never blinked to life during this bizarre event. The timestamp, if memory serves me right, was somewhere between 1:15 and 1:30 in the morning. We've all got our suspicions, but it looks like there are some nocturnal ghostly visitors at our hospital.
Well, first of all, wow. There's so I don't know how you hear stories like that and don't get a little bit concerned about your own vet practice. So okay. So Gabe, how common is this that we see things moving on camera that is actually caught, recorded? Is that abnormal? Are you surprised by that?
Not surprised at all. I mean, a lot of paranormal activity comes from security cameras. It's pretty normal, pretty common occurrence. My first thing I'd want to review the security footage to get a visual on what that happened, to kind of see what's going on there. Is it gravity, and if it's not, then we're getting into the paranormal realm.
Did the motion sensors not coming on, the lights not coming on, does that mean anything to you, or is that
No, ghosts have been able to set off motion devices, but they've also been able to not set them off. And I believe that ghosts are energy, and they can kind of manipulate these devices as they wish, kind of.
Okay. So that's not that doesn't necessarily mean anything. All right. If you were seeing things like this, moving food bags, stuff in the practice, is there any sort of best practices you would have, things that you would be thinking about doing differently? Do we need to appease spirits, anything like that?
Yeah, so it does depend if this is a benevolent or a nefarious spirit. Okay. If it's benevolent, I usually just let them kind of freely come about. I try to invite all the benevolent spirits into my home. I like to have buddies to hang out with and have parties and such. But if they're nefarious, you do want to kind of rid them off and do a smudging ritual. I think setting up cameras in the active spots would be a good first step.
Okay, I like that. That makes total sense to me. Like there's got to be some nuance here. As you said, nefarious not so much, but benevolent. Like we don't need to go to the mat to try to get rid of good energy. That all tracks. Let's go ahead. I think our second story. Let's have a listen to this.
This is Can You See Them? Submitted by Emily Kinney and narrated by Kelsey Beth Carpenter. So it was toward the end of my ER shift, around 10 p.m., when a mother and her young daughter, probably around 6 years old, came in with their critical dog. They were eventually brought back to the treatment area to see their dog and talk to the doctor. As the mother and doctor were talking, the little girl was looking all around the treatment room, and she had this really concerned look on her face. Then, at a break in the conversation, the little girl turns to her mom and says, "Can you see them? All the dogs and cats? You can all go to heaven now, it's okay." We all stood there completely silent. She said it like we could all see the ghost dogs and cats she could see. The other tech and I slowly backed out of the room.
And that's the first story I've heard of children. Usually the kids are, not there late at night, but this is like an emergency practice, and so kids are in. Talk to me about children's awareness of spirits versus adults. Should we have children that we bring in to see if they see anything? Should we, do we be aware of, how much stock should we, if a kid comes into my clinic and they're like, hey, do you see them? Should I put a lot of stock in that? Are they better equipped to recognize paranormal signs than I am? Like, where do I go with this?
Yeah, it's a known phenomenon that children are able to see and feel spirits more than adults and humans. And also animals as well have been known to be able to sense or maybe see. I don't know. You might be able to help me with, are they seeing it? Are they feeling it? What is the animal doing? But they're at least able to sense them more than adult humans. And, as far as the children versus adult thing, as we get older, people kind of, teach you a lot of, science and skills. And they also give you reasons to not believe something. But at the end of the day, as an adult, what you saw. Mm-hmm. So, I don't think that you should let your, senses deceive you in any way. Yeah. But the children have these active imaginations, and they're more open-minded, and they're, as an adult, it's like, okay, this is the wind or something. Whereas the kid thinks it could be the wind, it could be a ghost, it could be, a monster, it could be all these things. And their imagination is just much wider. And an animal, I don't know, maybe you could help me with this. What are they thinking? What does an animal think?
Well, that's what I was kind of wondering. It's hard to know. I mean, obviously animals react and we don't know what to react. Have you ever seen a cat just take off running out of the room?
100%.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying, maybe they see something we don't see. I don't know. So I think this story is interesting too, because, she says to the spirits that she sees, you can go ahead and go. And I'm like, why wouldn't they go ahead and go? Like, why would pets? Is it because they didn't hear that they were a very good boy enough? Like, what keeps them here?
And that's very possible. I mean, they said it was critical. I imagine it was kind of towards the end of its life cycle anyway, so it might have been going anyway, but that is a good point. Is there something they could have done to kind of make it last longer? And the child kind of noticed that this was happening. Yeah. And I think it's just a matter of the child, having that feeling, that sense.
Yeah, okay. Let's go to our next story.
This is My Clinic Has a Ghost, submitted by April Moore, narrated by Maria Prida. The first time I ever had an experience with a ghost, I was cleaning kennels by myself on Thanksgiving Day. As you can imagine, the kennels were full, being that it was a holiday. One of my coworkers said she might stop by while I was there. So when I heard the kennel door slam, a voice talking, and the dogs going crazy barking, I thought it was my coworker. I walked to the side of the kennel and there was nobody there, but the dogs were still barking. So then I thought maybe my coworker had went somewhere, some other part of the clinic. I went out the door and looked for her, but found nobody. Looked outside and only my vehicle was there. I went back to cleaning as normal with this weird feeling that I was being watched. Since then, we've had the water on, our water fountain turn on by itself, meds fly off the shelves as we walk by, and a lot of those, I'm being watched moments. Our ghost is a woman, and so far, I'm the only person that has ever heard her actual voice. Where are you?
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot. Human ghost, I think, is interesting. We haven't gotten that necessarily from other stories. I was kind of thinking a lot of animal ghosts, but human ghosts. The voice, I think, is interesting.
Yeah, so we had 4 things happen. We had a voice, we had a water ball again, right? So, when you have one piece of evidence, it's good to, try to corroborate it with other evidence. So when you have all these things, it kind of leads you more towards the paranormal, right?
Yeah.
Because all these things seem to be like a paranormal event. I also find it interesting they're talking about Thanksgiving. Holidays I believe are more active for paranormal because, especially for human ghosts, because they have a reason. They remember this holiday, so they're going to be more active. They want to be with their friends and family, so they're going to, do something on this specific day.
So stepping back here, in this case, we've got slamming doors, we've got barking dogs. Again, I'm assuming we don't know if this is a nefarious or a benevolent spirit.
It's hard to say, and again, I think doing the documentation. Now, again, if you do have a nefarious spirit, you do want to have some removal possibilities. There's different ways of doing this.
Okay.
Smudging is the first step.
Okay.
But if you smudge and it does not work, you have to resort to other methods. Probably calling a professional, and I would usually probably start with your local paranormal investigation team, and see if they can get rid of it. There's different devices you can use. You can put off a lot of energy to kind of force it out. But there's many different ways. But I think having a certified paranormal investigator like myself, or whatever city you're in, to have them come and see what they can do, and then. For me, for instance, if it ends up being like demonic, I usually have to call in an expert in that.
Right. So like a priest.
Yeah. And, sometimes it has to do with witches. So you have to get someone who's, into witchcraft.
That's a whole different person.
Right. Well, I can do it. I just, sometimes I have to call in someone who's a little more expert in that. I'm actually learning a little bit about witchcraft.
Referral. We do that.
Yeah, I mean, so you as a veterinarian, right? I'm sure that there's different levels that you might have to refer it to another veterinarian, right?
Right.
Yeah, so it's exactly like that.
All right. Okay. So I'm good with that. So basically, some smudging, burning of herbs, incense, extracts, things like that, and then pretty much after that, you're looking at a professional to come in.
I mean, that's what I would recommend. I mean, there's books and stuff you can read to try to remove it on yourself, but it's like, if you have an issue with your car, are you just going to go fix your engine, or are you going to call an auto mechanic?
All right, I'm fine with that. Have we got another story?
One more.
All right, we got one more story. Let's have a listen.
This is There Was No One There, submitted by Sima Benavides and narrated by Stephanie Goss. Rumors have been going around for years that the clinic is haunted. We've had late shift techs confirm this and have even had some overnight techs quit because they've heard footsteps and voices. A few years ago, I saw one of my doctors round the corner in the hallway, walking quickly towards his office. I walked towards him and followed because I had a client on the phone with a question. He was about 10 feet in front of me and went into the office and slammed the door. I assumed that he was mad about something, and I decided to wait a few minutes outside the door to give him some time to cool off. After a few minutes, I knocked on the door, but there was no answer. I waited, and then I decided to crack open the door and peek inside and just say, "Sorry to interrupt, but..." So I cracked open the door. There was no one in the office. There's only one way in or out, and I was standing outside the door the entire time. I didn't see anyone leave. I don't know who I saw, but I call him Stan.
I don't know about this one, Gabe. I got to tell you, I have hidden from technicians who wanted me to call people back before. I've hidden in boxes, behind doors.
So you think this is probably not a ghost?
It might not. I'm just saying it would not be the first time that a doctor has recognized they were being followed by a technician or front desk person and hid.
Yes.
I've seen this before.
She opened the door, saw no one was there. The dude could have just been hiding under the desk.
Right behind the door, in the paneling in the ceiling. There's. I'm not saying
You've
no.
done this before.
I'm just telling you. When I heard this story, I was like,
It sounds like you.
It could have been me earlier in my career, but anyway, I don't know. It's also possible that this was a spirit impersonating a doctor. Do you hear of spirits impersonating people very often? She seemed like she was like, I know that guy, that's the doctor, and then she got there and there was no one there.
It's certainly possible that a spirit could try to pretend to be someone else. 100% that could be a thing. Listening to this, I was really disappointed because I was like, oh, it's going to be an animal ghost. It's going to be an animal ghost. And immediately we got voices, unless it's a bar, animals don't really have voices. So it was kind of a human one. So I was a little disappointed in that. And you're right. it's hard to know, and it's interesting.
I appreciate all the stories that we got. So I want to say right here, first of all, thanks to everybody for sending their stories in. I really appreciate them. This has been something I have been really interested in. Gabe, thank you for being here and talking through this with us. Do you have favorite resources? Do you have places that people want to learn more that you would send them to start sharpening their skills and knowledge?
Sure. If you're interested in reading about, paranormal investigation, John Keel has some good stuff. Some of the stuff can be kind of boring. Fiona Broom is always good. Hans Holzer. Yeah, and then also sometimes I like to listen to the skeptic side as well, and a good place to start, probably just Carl Sagan's Demon Haunted World. If you want to get kind of, you got to know what the people that are against you are thinking. So I think that's always a good place to start.
I'll put some links down in the show notes. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, Paranormal TSPI is my YouTube channel. That's probably the first place. And if you're ever visiting Greenville, South Carolina, greenvilleghosttours.com.
Sounds great. Thanks for being here. Guys, take care of yourselves, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the Searchercast with myself, Gabe Mathews. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a comment. And I'll catch you on the next investigation. Yeah, I was really disappointed. No fish ghosts.
Yeah, no,
I thought for sure we'd get a fisherman, veterinarian, stealing his fish.
It's the first year we've asked. I think people probably need to hear that we're doing good work.
Maybe lean into like, hey, maybe fishes next year.
Okay.
Everyone likes fishies.